My twin got a Jeep for graduation, I got a lottery ticket, it won $5 million, and I didn't tell anyone. So, when my brother graduated, my parents surprised him with a brand new Jeep. Meanwhile, I got a lottery ticket. Growing up in the peaceful Chicago suburbs felt like living in a teen movie. You had those weekend BBQs with the smell of burgers in the air, split-level homes with American flags, and neighbors who smiled but gossiped behind your back. My family was classic middle class. Dad worked in logistics while Mom juggled extreme couponing with PTA meetings. Then there was Jake, my twin brother, and me. Jake was the golden boy, prom king material, high school football star, and somehow always tan, even in the dead of winter. Teachers loved him, always telling him he'd go far, and girls couldn't get enough of him. As for me, I was stacking shelves at Target to save for college and spent Tuesday nights at the high school chess club. Jake was like being in the Super Bowl, and me? I was the one with the Target name tag. We had that weird twin connection, but I was itching to break free while Jake soaked in the limelight. College wasn't just about studying for me, it was my ticket out. Jake's endless parties, my late-night essay sessions, and our parents' over-the-top graduation plans made senior year a blur. Mom got lost in her Pinterest obsession for the perfect graduation bash, planning everything from themed cupcakes to fairy lights, all set to a journey-heavy playlist. Dad was torn between renting a margarita machine and worrying if it would get him booted from the HOA. Neighbors kept telling Jake he'd make it big, especially after he scored that full-ride football scholarship to Michigan. Meanwhile, I was counting the days until I could escape to out-of-state college and finally be just Zach, not Jake's twin, but me. Graduation was chaotic, with Jake getting tons of texts from girls planning post-graduation trips, rehearsals, and parties. I was working double shifts at Target, and my future roommate was emailing about something mundane like bringing a mini-fridge. One night, Jake and I found ourselves on the garage roof, escaping the chaos of Mom's seating chart worries and Dad's hot dog count debates. Jake was stoked about college football and dorm life, while I was dreaming of a world where I wasn't just the sidekick. Everyone was buzzing with graduation excitement, but I knew Jake was the one set for a movie-like surprise. On the big day, the gym was decked out in gold and blue, with a photo booth and the lingering smell of cafeteria pizza. Jake was in his element, soaking up applause like he'd won the Super Bowl, while I sat through cheesy speeches and thought about my next shift at Target. The ceremony felt endless, but when Jake's name was called, it was like he hit the jackpot. When mine was called, it was more like an afterthought, but hey, at least I didn't trip. Afterward, the scene was wild. Mom was crying rivers, Dad was awkwardly filming everything, and I endured hugs that lasted a beat too long from relatives I barely knew. Jake's fan club swarmed him, making it feel like an NFL draft. Back home, our yard looked Pinterest perfect with lights, snacks, and enough Coca-Cola to last a year. Jake's crew showed up in matching 2024 shirts, and Mr. Thompson from next door was sneaking sliders while pretending to mingle. Jake thought it'd be cool to rent a limo, so we all piled in, blasting early 2000s hits, and made late-night stops at Taco Bell and Starbucks, because what's a graduation night without nachos and frappuccinos? Jake was soaking in all the attention and selfies, giggling with everyone around. Meanwhile, I was just kicking back with a Coke, cracking jokes, and wondering if anyone even noticed me. We played it up, holding our drinks like they were Oscars for the classic Starbucks photo. For a minute, I thought maybe this was my spotlight moment too. When we all got home, the fairy lights flickered in the sticky night air, and Jake's parents called everyone inside for the big surprise they'd been hinting at. Jake looked ready to burst, already dreaming of what epic gift was coming his way. As for me, I just hoped it wasn't another pair of socks. I was positive Jake would get me something cool, but what I wouldn't receive was nagging at me. The living room buzzed with suspense. Jake was practically bouncing, already picturing himself behind the wheel of whatever fantastic gift he was getting. Between sips of Mountain Dew and bites of pizza, his friends sprawled on the old couch and bean bags tossed around. Guesses? Sports car? Motorbike? Boat? Yeah, Jake deserved something grand. With tears in her eyes, Jake's mom handed him a key fob, like we'd hit the jackpot. The room erupted louder than a football stadium. Everyone swarmed around Jake like he was a rock star, following him outside. There it was, a shiny new Jeep Wrangler Rubicon parked in the driveway, lighting up under the streetlight. It was made for adventures at Lake Michigan, blasting country tunes. Jake's grin stretched as wide as the Chicago skyline, already halfway to the shore in his mind. He hopped in, paired his phone with the Bluetooth faster than my Wi-Fi could dream of, and boom, Morgan Wallen was belting out songs about highways and heartbreak. Classic Jake. I hung back, soaking it all in, not surprised at all. Jake, the hometown hero, naturally landed a Jeep. Dad gave my shoulder a pat like he had bad news to share. Mom handed me a tiny white envelope. No keys, no big bows, just paper inside. An awkward silence hung in the air as I fiddled with it, hoping for something cool, a check for college, maybe? Cubs tickets? Inside was a plain $25 Best Buy gift card and a lottery ticket. Cue the awkward laughs. My buddy Sam, always with the bad timing, nudged me with at least now you can finally buy that Xbox controller you're always moaning about. I chuckled at that. What else can you do when life hands you a so-called gift like that? Jake's crew barely noticed, already arguing over shotgun and squishing into the Jeep. Mom hugged me tight, whispering about all the big plans ahead, but Jake's shouts about a Dairy Queen run and the Jeep's engine drowned her out. Dad gave me a knowing nod, like hang in there, kid. I slipped out the back door, pocketing the envelope. The porch felt like a safe haven, with lawnmowers buzzing in the distance and the aroma of burgers on a neighbor's grill. I scratched off the lottery ticket with a coin from my pocket, nothing but a loser. I stared at the gift card like it might suddenly turn into something meaningful. Jake scored freedom and endless possibilities. I got a target salary worth more than that plastic piece. The worst part? Everyone seemed to know this was coming, like I didn't need the big stuff. Sam came over with 2 Cokes, his typical grin in place. Tough break, man, but hey, at least no one's gonna bug you for rides, he said, popping a can open and settling next to me. This time I laughed for real. We sipped our Cokes as Jake's Jeep disappeared into the night. I played the role of the supportive brother, even congratulating Jake, but something inside me cracked that night without me realizing it. Later, while Jake was likely mapping out epic Lake Michigan trips with his new Jeep, I stood in front of the freezer, pulled out a frozen pizza, and mindlessly scrolled Instagram as it cooked. Graduation photos filled my feed, loaded with cheesy group shots and caps flying in the air. Of course, Jake's Jeep was front and center. His post? New wheels, new adventures. Lake Michigan, here we come. Hashtag Jeep life, hashtag blessed. I let out a sigh, liking the post out of habit even though it tugged at my heart. The microwave's beep snapped me out of my funk. With pizza balanced on my lap, I plopped onto the old plaid couch, with the smell of disappointment mingling with the pepperoni. So, there I was in the living room, just mindlessly scrolling through Netflix like you do, when I stumbled across The Office. Of course, I had to pick it. Somehow, Michael Scott's awkward antics made my messy life feel a little less tragic. And Jim messing with Dwight? Absolutely hilarious. I couldn't help but think, if Pam could deal with Roy, maybe I could manage being Jake's twin. Memories just kind of barged in uninvited, like they tend to do, especially on that Christmas morning. See, Jake scored this shiny new PlayStation 5 while I got a $50 Amazon gift card. Yeah, he tossed Madden aside like it was nothing, while I realized my gift card wouldn't even cover a new controller. Then there was that time when our parents whisked Jake off to Disney World to celebrate his awesome football season after his freshman year. Grandma Doris and her endless collection of ceramic cats were left behind with me. Fun, right? She's all about pointing out my slouch and teaching me how to knit. Oh, and those little annoyances? Way too many to count. Jake always snagged the last slice of pizza, and thanks to football practice, he never had to mow the lawn. And don't get me started on how often I heard, "Oh, you're Jake's brother," as if that summed me up entirely. While I was munching on those pizza slices, I noticed I had just 2 left, and it hit me again how I always got the short end of the stick. My phone buzzed, perfect timing, with a message from Sam. I mean, the guy's got sitcom timing, asking if I'd checked the lottery ticket yet. I rolled my eyes, yeah, sure, I won millions while reheating a frozen pizza. He shot back, come on, do it for the meme. With a sigh, I fished out the crumpled ticket from my jeans and thought, all right, let's get this over with. Little did I know, that moment was about to flip my world upside down. Half expecting the ticket to burst into flames as some kind of cosmic joke, I opened the lottery app with shaky hands. My heart was thumping like I'd run a marathon. The app lagged slower than dial-up, seriously. Finally, it asked me to scan the ticket. I hovered my phone over the barcode, holding my breath. Processing. Then bam, $150,000. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, blinked again. Nah, I wasn't hallucinating from too much Mountain Dew and pizza. The numbers stayed put. I might have scared the neighbor's dog with the noise I made, some mix of a laugh, a gasp, and that sound you make when you stub your toe at 2 a.m. Sam texted again, checked it yet? My phone nearly flew from my hand. No, this kind of money isn't for a new Xbox. We're talking quit your job, buy a beach house money. My brain went into overdrive. What do you even do when you win the lottery? Of course, Google it. Rule number 1, keep it secret. No joke, Jake would spill for gas money, and Mom would go full Oprah, telling everyone they get a new this or that. Dad would launch into a 3-hour tax talk for sure. I was pacing, thinking of everything from buying a car to snagging all of The Office seasons on Blu-ray. I read loads of advice: get a lawyer, stay anonymous, don't blow it all at once, most winners are broke within a few years. Talk about a buzzkill. Just then, Jake's Jeep rolled up, and through the window, I heard him chatting about the girl at Dairy Queen who gave him her number. Classic Jake, tossing fries into his mouth, leaning against his shiny new Jeep. Meanwhile, I was stashing a $5 million secret in my sock drawer. I thought about telling Sam but remembered how he let slip about my crush on our math tutor back in the day. I needed a plan, a solid one. So, I hid the ticket in a dusty old book no one would touch, Advanced Algebra, of all things. My phone buzzed again. It was Sam. What's up? I smirked, nothing much. But inside, I was buzzing. I had to be smart. Everyone would want a piece of this pie. But no way was I sharing. The next morning, the reality of my $5 million hit me. I was excited but also paranoid. What if I lost the ticket or someone found it? I could still be stuck working late at Target, arguing with customers over expired coupons. I needed to secure this cash, pronto. I told my parents I had an early shift, jumped into my old 2008 Honda Civic, and headed straight to the bank. So, I've been dealing with this annoying car that literally shakes every time I hit the brakes. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out how to stash my lottery winnings in the bank without my family catching on. Reddit was zero help, just a bunch of people saying, tell your mom. No, thanks. It felt like I had a giant neon millionaire sign blinking over my head. I was super nervous every time the bank teller glanced my way, but an hour later, I walked out with a new account, a temporary card, and a meeting scheduled with my financial advisor, Brian. Brian totally looked the part with his polo shirt, khakis, and that reassuring smile like, don't worry, I won't lose all your money. He didn't even flinch when I told him about my big win. He just started talking about diversified investments like it was a TED Talk. I nodded along like I got it. I mean, does anyone just buy a mansion and call it a day? In the end, I threw some cash at Amazon and Tesla stocks. I mean, who doesn't love 2-day shipping and Elon Musk? Next on my agenda was Operation New Zach. I skipped Walmart and went straight to Nike, blowing more cash in 1 hour than I had in the past 2 years. Hoodies, Air Jordans, Ray-Bans, the essentials. No more counting pennies at the clearance rack. When I walked through the door, my buddy Jake immediately noticed the new kicks. New sneakers? He asked, tossing a football in the air. I just said, Uber, like that explained everything, like driving people around could actually earn you $200 sneakers in Jake's world. A week later, I swapped my old Civic for a shiny Tesla Model 3. When I pulled up, Jake nearly spat out his Mountain Dew. Isn't this like renting a car from Uber? He teased. I shrugged, playing it cool. Just testing it out. Nobody seemed to question it. My parents started dropping hints about bills, and Jake loved to mock me about being the fancy Uber driver. Meanwhile, I was living a double life that no one knew about for the first time. Jake had his fan club and his Jeep, but I had my secret new start. But secrets like mine never stay hidden for long. After a wild Post Malone concert with my ears still buzzing from the bass and Sam's off-key singing, I cruised down Interstate 90 with my Tesla's autopilot humming away. Between front row seats, pricey merch, and enough adrenaline to last a week, the night had been perfect. I was on cloud 9, imagining late-night Taco Bell runs in my Tesla, no need to explain why I couldn't go on spring break trips. But as I pulled into the driveway, I noticed all the lights were still on, even though it was almost midnight. Weird. I half expected everyone to be asleep, maybe Jake conked out with his Xbox controller. Instead, it was like a bad TV drama intervention scene. Mom, Dad, and Jake were waiting in the living room. Jake was chilling with my black jacket, which I'd accidentally left behind. Nice jacket, he said too casually. You know what I found in the pocket during finals week? My stomach dropped faster than my GPA. You went through my stuff? I snapped, trying to sound mad instead of shaky. Jake shrugged like he'd just scored the game-winning touchdown and said, I figured you wouldn't mind. Didn't have to look far. There it was, this little gem, waving the Tesla financial report showing my $100,000 investment. Mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. Zach, where did you get this kind of money? She asked quietly. Dad leaned forward with his serious face on. Sit down, now. I was trapped. My heart was racing, and I knew I found it on the sidewalk wouldn't fly. With a sigh, I ran my fingers through my hair and confessed, the words tasting like defeat, I won the lottery. $150,000. Mom blinked rapidly like she was rebooting. You didn't tell us it was $50,000, why? Dad rubbed his chin, already calculating. We could cover so many expenses, like insurance, credit card debt, family stuff. Jake, being Jake, leaned back. Guess you can buy a real car now instead of pretending to rent a Tesla, maybe a Toyota, he joked. I fought back laughter but knew I wasn't ready for the storm ahead. The living room felt like a courtroom, and I was definitely the one on trial. Mom paced, counting every dime they'd ever spent. Dad rubbed his temples. Jake, oblivious, kept scrolling his phone. Mom's voice was a mix of disappointment and disbelief. I can't believe you kept this from us, Zach. We've always supported you. I clenched my jaw, thinking, support me? Like when you gave me a $25 gift card while spending your savings on Jake's Jeep? Jake chuckled, hey, you used it for those awesome Air Jordans, right? That was it. I snapped, you know what? I'm not giving any of you money, not for the mortgage, not for car loans, and definitely not for anything else. When Jake was planning his big weekend trip to Lake Michigan, Mom acted like I just dropped the bombshell that I was moving to Mars. She was all about the family sticks together vibe. I couldn't help but shoot back with a joke about how when I was pulling double shifts at Target to cover my college bills, everyone seemed to be MIA. Dad, always the peacemaker, chimed in, saying Jake's Jeep was practically an investment in his future. For what? I interrupted, Instagram posts and Starbucks runs? Jake finally looked up from whatever he was doing and was like, chill, dude. They didn't buy it because of me. Inside, I was all sarcastic, like, yeah right, saying I need a Jeep isn't pressure at all. Mom tried the guilt trip, Zach, we tried our best. Can't you help out a bit? We've got overdue bills, the water heater's busted, and Dad's car needs new brakes. I grabbed my coat, feeling done with it all. Done being plan B, done being the spare wheel. I spent that night packing my essentials, laptop, chargers, leftover pizza, and tossed them in a duffel bag with my clothes. Jake didn't even say bye, he was too busy FaceTiming his friends about some party. The next morning, I treated myself to a venti caramel macchiato at Starbucks. For once, I didn't have to worry about my balance. I decided to lease a small apartment downtown, overlooking the Chicago River. It was tiny, like just enough room for a bed and couch, but it had exposed brick walls, a fridge that didn't sound like it was on its last legs, and nobody hounding me about the Wi-Fi bill. Sipping coffee on my balcony, watching boats drift by, I felt truly free for the first time. A year passed, and I got a reminder of life's funny balance. Jake wrecked his shiny Jeep Wrangler in a Walmart parking lot trying to impress a girl, classic romantic move, right? Meanwhile, keeping up with Jake's never-ending needs, Miami spring break, the latest iPhone, emergency AirPods, lost 3 times. Had my parents drowning in credit card debt. But I was thriving. My Tesla didn't turn heads anymore, people just saw another tech guy doing well. My investments were paying off, and I got into a promising tech startup. Things took off faster than microwave popcorn. Suddenly, I wasn't just the quiet twin working Target shifts. I was the guy booking last-minute flights to LA, posting Grand Canyon sunrise pics, and Disney World? Done it twice. I even snapped a churro shot with Mickey Mouse. It felt like living one of those uplifting TikTok montages with chill music in the background. Then came the call I knew was coming. Mom sounded shaky, Zach, we need help, we're behind on everything, house, cars, even groceries. Jake, sounding less cocky than usual, chimed in, look, man, I messed up. But we're family, right? I swirled my pricey Starbucks coffee, smiling a bit bitterly, and said, maybe investing in me instead of a Jeep would have been smarter. I hung up, half expecting them to call back. They didn't. But fate wasn't done with me yet. One day, my phone rang and it was Grandpa. Hey kiddo, just checking in. That lottery ticket really turned things around, huh? I was stunned, he knew? Of course, he laughed. I bought it for you as a graduation gift. Always knew you were destined for something big. And there I was, teary-eyed, realizing Grandpa was the